Peak Performance Coach for High Impact Leaders, AJ Madden here. Today we're going to talk about principle number 24 of our 24 principles of self-protection and leadership from 1% Warrior Black Belt Boss. Principle number 24, white belt mentality, never stop learning. Let's talk about how this applies to self-protection. Here's a quote from Criss Angel, the famous magician. I always knew I'd be successful because I knew I worked harder than anyone else. What I lacked in talent, I'd make up for with tenacity and learning. White belt mentality is a beginner's mind. Approaching your training every day like you are a beginner. And understanding that you can never stop learning. You can never stop growing. You can never stop improving. There's always something else to learn. There's always a new way to grow, and just carrying that with you, that mentality, no matter how many years you've been training for, no matter how long you've been working at this, there's always something else to learn. And I'm going to give you a quote from Chad Lyman. He's a Las Vegas police officer, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, and head grappling instructor at Extreme Couture in Las Vegas, Randy Couture's gym, which is one of the best gyms in the country and maybe the world. Chad has a simple rule for his training that he says has served him very well over the years, and it's this. And here it is in Chad's words. He calls it the rule of 3. If you go 3 minutes without air, you will probably die. If you lose more than 3 pints of blood, you will probably die. If you go 3 days in the desert without shelter or water, you will probably die. I tell myself that if I don't train in a 3-day period, I am going to die. It might be for only 15 minutes that day. I don't have a 3-day period in my life when I don't train. That's beyond strength and conditioning. That is separate. This is training with an unwilling, uncooperative opponent. That is where you really start setting yourself up to do well. And this is beyond brilliant. This rule, this 3-day rule, where not going more than 3 days without some type of training, to keep your sword sharp, to keep your instincts solid. So simple, so brilliant. Don't overcomplicate things. And Chad's a black belt, and he's a head grappling instructor at one of the top mixed martial arts gyms on the planet, and he still prioritizes training every 3 days. So if that doesn't tell you everything, I don't know what does. Let's talk about the white belt mentality in terms of leadership. Here's a quote from Earl Nightingale, famous peak performance expert. 1 hour per day of study will put you at the top of your field within 3 years. Within 5 years, you'll be a national authority. In 7 years, you can be one of the best people in the world at what you do. Now, you can take this literally, you can take this metaphorically, you can take it however you want to take it. Essentially, what Earl is talking about is just consistent self-education, whether that's reading books, talking to mentors, and I'll give you some examples here of ways you can do this. But what he's talking about is just that consistent self-education. Every day, learning something, prioritizing an hour to that self-education. And I believe that you can become a high-level expert by doing this. An hour a day, just consistently consuming the best type of information that you can consume, from the best experts and from people who came before you, who are 5 to 30 years ahead of you in their journey and knowledge, and just continuously self-educating. I'm such a firm believer in this. You can develop elite expertise if you just follow that simple habit. Leaders are learners. Out of the 500 plus peak performance habits and principles that I've learned, practiced, and taught over the last 20 years, continuous self-education is easily in the top 5. Just prioritizing, 15 minutes a day, half an hour a day, an hour a day to learning more and improving in some way. Now, how do we do this? It can be from books. It can be from audiobooks. It can be from podcasts. It could be reading articles from experts. It could also be from a coach, hiring a coach. It could also be seeking out mentors, different mentors in different areas of your life. It can be modeling success, studying success, reading biographies and watching documentaries and just studying success and learning from there. You don't have to read 500 books. there's other ways to learn. Again, maybe you learn better by going right to the source and learning from an expert mentor, or doing it yourself and having a coach. You can combine these things, where some people I know much prefer podcasts over audiobooks. Some people prefer both. Some people use books, podcasts, modeling, mentorship, audiobooks. Personally, I combine all of them together. Pick the one that you love to do the most and triple down on that, because all that matters is that you do it. It doesn't matter how you get the information. So don't ever let anyone tell you you have to read to get to a world-class level. Does it help? Sure it does. But there's other ways to do it. You can go out and do the work and test and experiment and stumble and fall and get up. You can seek out mentors. You can model success. There's many ways to do it. Many different ways to do it. For me, the most powerful is always mentorship. Find someone who's 5 to 30 years ahead of you where you want to be, and seek out their expertise and listen and learn from them, and let them coach you and advise you, and listen with 2 ears and shut your mouth. Ask questions and shut your mouth. Be a great student. Great people love to mentor. Successful people do love to mentor. The vast majority love to give advice and help people out. The vast majority do. It's just nobody asks. The reason they don't ask is because either they don't think about it, they haven't considered it, or they're afraid to because they don't want to bother someone. I've been seeking out mentors for the last easily 20 plus years of my life. And I was never afraid to ask. I was never afraid to ask someone who was, again, that 5 to 30 years ahead of me to give me advice and to spend time with me, and to, even for as little as 15 minutes, or let me observe them, in their work environment. I was never afraid to ask that, and the vast majority of the time, people say yes. I have cold called top experts, and I've paid for time with top experts also, but many of the times it was free. When I was 19 years old, I asked the mayor of the town where my university was and the university president to mentor me, and if I could spend time with them and learn from them. They both said yes. I was 19, a freshman in college. I asked and they said yes, and it was a great experience for me, and I learned at a very young age what it was like, what real leadership was like, and they were both tremendous leaders, and I learned a ton from both of them. I never would have happened if I was afraid to ask, if I was afraid to pick up the phone and cold call, because I'm no better off or worse if they say no. I'm no different. I'm no better or worse. They said no. Maybe they're too busy. Maybe they just don't want to. No hard feelings. I'm on to the next source of knowledge. So never be afraid to ask, and never be afraid to seek out the highest level of coaching and mentorship that you could possibly find. It is the ultimate shortcut to success that so few people use it, and it's available to pretty much everybody. I mean, it really is available to anybody. You just have to be persistent and ask. So that is that white belt mentality. That's our principle 24. It's our last principle out of our principles of leadership and self-protection, and easily one of the most important ones. Just never stop learning. Keep that white belt mentality. Keep your humility. Always know there's more to learn, and you can learn from anybody. I hope you found these 24 videos useful. I hope you found the 24 principles useful. If you did, please click like and subscribe. It's very much appreciated. Please share any of these videos with someone that you believe will also find them useful. Please pick yourself up a copy of 1% Warrior Black Belt Boss. If you would like to improve your ability to lead, and also your ability to protect yourself and those that you care about the most, this book is a great source. This is 15 years of experience in martial arts and leadership. I poured that into this book because I wanted to create something that people would find useful. I wanted to have something that, when I first started, would have helped me along my journey. And that's all that matters to me. Be useful. That is, leadership 101. Try to be useful to other people as much as you possibly can. And I wish everyone success and happiness. I challenge you to keep a white belt mentality in everything you do in your life.